Shalom. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Ha-Rakah Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles, the great millstone, and also want to acknowledge the Akiam for pushing this truth with sincerity. Okay? Alright, so just wanted to do this quick lesson. We were at camp last week, and the brother called y'all. That's one of the benefits of going to camp each and every week. You know, you're going to pick up certain things, learn certain things, and, you know, you're going to edify the body, you know, the brethren, the tabernacle. So I'm just going to deal with, you know, the two different types of judges you have. You know, you have the righteous judges, who are the judges who judge according to the scriptures. And then you have the wicked judges, who are in Esau's kingdom, who judge according to their own laws. Because Esau, as it is written, he changes the laws, the signs, and the times. All right. So I'm going to start out in Wisdom of Solomon. And chapter 6 and verse 1 says, "Hear therefore, O ye kings, and understand, learn ye that be the judges of the ends of the earth." So this is telling you the Israelite men, who are the so-called black, so-called Native American, and so-called Hispanic men, who are diligent and learn this truth. Well, you are the judges of the earth. Okay, according to the Holy Scriptures. It says, "Give ear, ye that rule the people, and glory in the multitude of nations. For power is given you of Yahweh, and sovereignty from the highest, who shall try your works and search out your counsels. Because, being ministers of his kingdom, ye have not judged aright, nor kept the law, nor walked after the counsel of Yahweh." All right. So basically, you know, we know that our people have been in darkness for so long, you know, and that's what this is speaking of, you know, being ministers of the kingdom. We were not judging aright, because what did our people do? They lost their way. They turned from the power, you know, the power of Yahweh and Yahushai. All right. Which we are Israelites. You know, we're not Mexicans. We're not blacks. We're not Native Americans. We're not Puerto Ricans. You know, we're not Colombians. No, we're Israelites. All right. So in order to get your power back, you have to repent, Israelite man. All right. You need to repent, and you need to become a judge of the earth. Once you repent, you learn the law. You learn the laws of Yahweh. And so you know, in this kingdom, Esau, he judges unrighteously, because, you know, he doesn't judge with, he's the master of iniquity, you know, meaning unfair judgment, you know. That's why you see so-called black men and so-called Hispanic men filling up the prisons, you know. And meanwhile, you see so-called white men getting off with lighter punishment for committing the exact same crimes in this unjust, wicked kingdom of Esau, Edom. All right. So from there, I'm going to go to Matthew chapter 7, 1 and 2. It says, "Judge not, that ye be not judged. For with that judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with that measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again." All right. So right away, a Christian is going to say, "Oh, see right here, it says you can't be judged. You can't judge me. Don't judge me. Only God can judge me." Well, we just read in the Wisdom of Solomon that the judges of the earth are the Israelite men, okay, who are given the law, and who are given the statutes and commandments and the Holy Spirit, which is the scriptures. All right. What this is dealing with is, don't be don't be judging in unrighteousness. All right. Like Esau. Esau judges unrighteously. You know, you got a lot of men who are in prison or in jail for committing crimes like, you know, possession of marijuana, or maybe it was a great amount of marijuana, and now they're doing a lot of time. But then all of a sudden, you know, because Esau is wicked and he changes his laws, now it's legal in Colorado. And now you have, you know, for the same substance, marijuana, you have the so-called white man making a lot of money, you know, off of that same thing that put many Israelite men in jail and in prison. All right. So he's a wicked, unjust, no balance, vile, base man, according to the Bible. You know. So, you know, it's not talking about, no, you can't judge people. No, it means don't judge people in unrighteously manners. Just like for verse 2, for with that judgment ye judge, which Esau is going to be judged. He's going to be judged when Yahushua comes back. And why? What is his measure? His measure is going to be because of, look at how wicked he's, you know, ruling society, and he's ruling in wickedness. So you bet your ass Esau is going to be judged for that. All right. His measure is going to be a fucked up measure, because Yahushua is going to destroy this so-called white man. All right. With the second coming, with the chariots and the great glory that he's in, power that he's coming with. All right. And not only that, the nuclear missiles, those are Yahweh. Those are Yahweh's weapons at the end of the day. All right. So, excuse me. I'm going to go to Psalms 2 and 10. And this says, be wise at the bottom. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Okay, so what does that say right there? Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Telling you that the Israelites are the judges of the earth, the ones who learn this, the prophets, the ones who learn this truth. All right? You can't expect to judge somebody if you don't even know the laws of Yahweh. All right? And does Esau know the laws of Yahweh? To a certain extent he does, but he doesn't keep them laws. You know, he doesn't honor the laws of Yahweh. So that's how you know the wicked rule. All right? Because the Edomite, he's not judging according to the Bible. All right? And the word judge, it actually goes back to Judah, right? The judicial system. They even blasphemize it even more by coming up with their Judge Judy. The name Judy even goes back to judge and judicial. But you know, men in the truth, we know that that's actually a wicked thing to set up a woman as a judge. Just by the nature of a woman, you know, she's got her time of the month. She's got her, you know, emotional time in the month. Women become emotional during that time and irritable, you know, some of them. And basically, you know, they're unfit to be a judge. Do you want to go to see the judge when she's on that time of the month? Then she's going to throw that damn book at you, man. So it's just common sense, all right? But Esau allows that in his kingdom because he's the wicked, okay? So the point of this lesson is I want to show the righteous judge, who are the men of the truth, the prophets, and I want to show you one of the greatest judges ever documented in the scriptures. And we're actually going to go to 1 Kings chapter 3 and verse 16 for this lesson. This is dealing with the King Solomon. All right. This is true wisdom and true judgment and true, true wise decision by an Israelite judge. All right, not an Edomite judge, an Israelite judge. 1 Kings 3:16. Then came there 2 women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the 3rd day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also. So they both had babies, okay? And we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we 2 in the house. So they're saying there was only just them 2 in the house, no one else. And this woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it. All right, so the foolish woman, she, basically smothered her baby, all right, when she was asleep. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. So after she suffocated her baby, she went and switched out the babies, all right? So, verse 21, and when I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son which I did bear. And I'm actually going to go back, dealing with the first verse that I read in verse 16. Then came there 2 women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. My bad, I forgot to bring out this precept. It's going to be Numbers 27:10. And this is dealing during Moses' time. Let's see. This is with the daughters of Zelophehad. All right, who in verse 7 you see his name. I'm going to move down to let me see. I'm sorry. Yeah, Numbers 27:2. I'm sorry. Yeah, Zelophehad. In verse 2, it says, And they stood before Moses and before Eleazar the priest, and before the princes and all the congregation, by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, and he was not in company of them that gathered themselves together against Yahweh, in the company of Korah, but he died in his own sin. He had no sons. All right, showing you that the women are not permitted in the truth. In the tabernacle. All right. All right, so this is just showing you these women, because these were the daughters of Zelophehad. And there's a list of the daughters right there if you want to go and read it on your own, Numbers 27. But anyway, the point of this is, they stood before Moses and before Eleazar the priest and before the princes and all the congregation by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. All right. So it shows you that the women were not allowed, in certain places. So that's why the men of GMS, you don't see our women, at the camps. You don't see our women in this truth because, again, women are too emotional and they're not fit for, preaching the truth on the streets in the public. All right. You can't have an emotional woman. The word feminine means lacking faith. Fe meaning faith in Latin, and femina, meaning minus faith, without faith, lacking faith. So, there's reasons why, and there's an order to this thing, like the apostles always bring out. There's an order to this thing. All right, and there's no women who are judges, just like there's no Edomites who are judges. All right, the judges of the Bible and judges of the earth are the Israelite men. All right, And really, it's the prophets, the ones who are teaching this truth. All right. So now I'm going to go back to 1 Kings 3 and 16, but we came down to let's see, we got to 21. And when I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son, which I did bear. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son. So basically, she switched out the babies because one died, and then she switched the babies out because she killed her baby. And verse 22, and the other woman said, Nay, but the living son is my son. Living is my son, but the dead is thy son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spake before the king. So they were presenting their case before King Solomon, the great, wise, mighty judge. Verse 23, Then said the king, the one saith, This is my son that liveth, and thy son is the dead. And the other saith, Nay, but thy son is the dead, and my son is the living. And the king said, and this is because King Solomon, he wasn't no chump, he wasn't no idiot, right? It says, and the king said, Bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the living child in two. He's like, I'm not going to listen to these two whores go back and forth. He said, just give me a sword. I'm going to chop this baby up, all right, in half. All right. He said, and the king said, Divide the living child in two and give the half to one and half to the other. And that was how he was going to settle it in his wisdom. Then spake the woman whose living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And that word bowel, it's a rakam or acham in the Hebrew, all right, which actually means compassion, tender love, mercy, pity, all right, cherishing. So if you change that word, I'm going to start back at 26 and read it with another synonym, what the bowels actually means, another word. Then spake the living woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her passion yearned upon her son. And she said, O my Lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divide it. All right. So really quick, I want to go back to a precept, and this is dealing with Joseph. All right. Because remember, Joseph was sold by his other brothers, to the Egyptians. And this is when he came across his other brothers when they came back during the famine, right? They came to Egypt. And Joseph was he was a noble man in Egypt at that time. So we're going to go to verse 30. And Joseph made haste. Actually, let's back up one spot. Genesis 43:29. And he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is this your younger brother of whom ye spake unto me? And he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son. And he's speaking of Benjamin, right? Because Joseph and Benjamin were actually both the sons of Rachel, the two women, Rachel and Leah, which were both wives of the forefather Jacob. Joseph and Benjamin were real brothers, if you will. They had the same mother and the same father. So he had a soft spot for his brother Benjamin, who was the youngest of the 12 tribes. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother. And remember, that word bowels means compassion. So let's change that when I read it again. And Joseph made haste, for his compassion did yearn upon his brother. Or it also means heart. All right. And he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber and wept there. And he washed his face and went out and refrained himself. And he said, Set on bread. So literally that word bowels, it goes back to, like I said, cherishing the fetus, compassion, all right, tender love, mercy, You could put all those words right there when you read that verse, bowels, verse 30. For his tender love did yearn upon his brother. Verse 30. For his compassion did yearn upon his brother. He had great compassion when he saw his brother, so much to the point where he actually cried. He went into his chamber to cry, in privacy. All right, so we're going to go back to this. 1 Kings 3, and where are we at? Let me see. Okay, so verse 26. Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her compassion yearned upon her son. And she said, O my Lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divide it. So, as you can see, that word bowels means compassion. So it's what it's talking about, right? So that one woman, she said, Then spake the woman, verse 26, whose the living child was unto the king, for her compassion yearned upon her son. And she said, O my Lord, give her the living child was unto the king. I'm sorry, I keep getting these distractions. For her bowels yearned upon her son, and she said, O my Lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divide it. Right? So when the King Solomon heard that answer, he knew who the true mother was. Right? He knew it was the one because, the lady was like, hey, let her have the child. Just let her have the baby. And the other lady was like, oh, you know what? Go ahead and divide it. All right? So he knew whose baby it was, because the one who said, hey, just give it to her, let the baby live. She'd rather the baby live than to be divided, because that was the true mother. Right? But King Solomon would not have known that without his wisdom. All right? Let's read verse 27. Or actually, you know what? Let me go back to Psalms. Oops. For a precept real quick. Or no, not Psalms. Isaiah 49 and 15. Excuse me. It says, Can a woman forget her sucking child, that she would not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yeah, they may forget, yet I will not forget thee. All right, and this is dealing with the love Yahweh has for his people, compared to, and mainly the elect, the chosen, the prophets, and the 1/3 of Israel that's attached to them. But, in this verse right here, he's saying in Isaiah 49 and 15, he's comparing the woman's love for her child that she nursed, right? He's comparing the people, the chosen, the elect, He says, yeah, they may forget, yeah, I will not forget thee. Because even a woman who nurses a child, in time, and in time, they may forget their child, You see it all the time, especially with Edomites, you know what I mean? They don't get along with their family members. They'll even tell you, I hate my brother, or I hate my parents. You hear that all the time with Edomites, and you hear it nowadays. You do hear it with Israelites, but why is that? It's because they're drunk off the wine of Babylon, drunk off Esau's bullshit, right? So now they're in those same mindsets where they don't like their parents and whatnot, So now I keep reading, going back, but right there it says Yahweh. He doesn't forget like these women, He's got a genuine love, and we're actually the apple of his eye, the nation of Israel, the so-called blacks, so-called Native Americans, and so-called Hispanics. All right, we are the apple of Yahweh's eye, and he hates Esau. All right, if you ain't read the Bible if you don't know that. All right. So now I'm gonna go back to Kings, 1 First Kings chapter 3, and where we at? We're at like, let's see. So back to 27. Then the king answered, this is King Solomon. Then the king answered and said, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof. So by his wisdom, you know, because one mother was pleading, hey, just give it to her. Don't kill the baby. Don't cut the baby in half. You know, the other one was like, go ahead and divide it. And then he knew who the real mother was, you know. And so it says, and all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of Yahweh was in him to do judgment. All right. So that's why when you get this spiritual power upon you as a prophet, you're going to be feared by the people because they're going to see the power and the wisdom in you. All right. But what in Esau's kingdom would they have done? They go do a wicked thing. You know, they give a joint custody, you know, and confuse the shit out of the child. You know, because, you know, you have that in this world right now, you know, where you have a man and a woman and they split up, they get a divorce. Then you have, you know, they have two different upbringings, you know, which is a wicked thing in reality. You know, you know, like in my case, you know, my little girl is growing up in the truth part-time because Esau's wicked kingdom, you know, this Esau, when he's the judge, he makes you give your kid to the mother, even if she's in wickedness, which she's not in the truth. And she's getting raised in a heathen, paganistic background, you know, and you have to deal. You're vexed as a man in this truth, prophet in this truth. And when you teach your kids to do the truth, you know, and to, you know, not eat pork and to not follow the pagan holidays. But what does Esau do? He lets them do both. He says, okay, we're going to divide the baby, just like the King Solomon, he was going to cut it in half, kill the baby, right? Either the baby was going to be dead and they were going to have one side of the dead baby, which is even more righteous than to have a baby be brought up in two different, you know, upbringings. One being in the truth and one being in, you know, in a pagan upbringing, in the heathen, you know. But that shows you the wickedness of Esau. Right? He don't care about that because he has no value to this truth, you know. In Esau's kingdom, you know, that like I say, they divide the baby, you know, and you know, and that's basically killing the baby, because you can't be double-minded in this truth. You know, you can't have 1 foot in the world and 1 foot in the truth. You know, you can't serve two masters. So, you know, and Esau's wicked court system is double-minded, you know. You get different parenting times. You know, they give them different decision-making options, you know. They say they look out for the best interest of the children. But in reality, you know, and what is the fathers? The fathers, sometimes they you know, they have to, you know, just deal with, well, not sometimes, whenever you're in the middle of Esau's judgment and he's giving you half custody or joint custody, now all of a sudden you're just like, you want the baby to live, right? So you're just like, hey, let the baby live. I'd rather, like the first woman, I'd rather have the baby live than the baby split in two. But no, the wicked, they want the baby split in two, you know? They don't give a shit. Like her mom, you know? You know, and you know, in our society, and a woman who is to leave her husband, she don't feel no pain, you know. She gets paid in this society when the husband leaves the house, you know. Co-parenting, you know what I mean? They like that shit. They get bonus kids. That's why you have a lot of people who are like, oh man, I got full